IATEFL Brighton.
So, welcome for one more year to our IATEFL live show. We are here with
Nikki.
Anka.
and Georgia, and we would like to welcome you to. Oh, girls, what does it say here? IATEFL Harrogate. That was last
no,
year.
Can't have
Change
that.
Georgia, shall we?
Let's go for it.
Okay, let's put this on here.
Brilliant. So this is our absolutely fantastic spinning wheel, which is waiting for all of our delegates to come to our studio, say hello, spin the wheel, and answer one of the questions that might inspire you. So how have you been, girls?
Yeah, really well. I can't believe it's been a year, Georgia. That's insane.
But a year of counting the days until we got here.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Looking forward to it. And it's going to be such a special year.
Can we just mention the absolutely incredible Sean, who is behind the cameras?
Yes, yes.
He
I
is.
see him, but he is
Sean,
there.
He's
Sean
waving.
is saying
He's
hello.
waving.
And also behind us, we have got something else. Nikki, what have you
this
got?
is exciting.
We do. We can show you just how busy and exciting the conference is because
So, welcome to the exhibition centre.
yeah, absolutely. So behind us, what you can see is the exhibition centre where everybody is milling around, networking, talking to publishers and to other teachers and schools. And yeah, that's where the magic happens, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's always very, very busy, and it's always a fantastic place to get ideas, learn what's going on in the industry.
Yeah.
And also, we will be having a camera going around as well, yes?
Oh, definitely. We'll be checking it out.
Absolutely. Anka, what will we be doing in this show?
In this show, like today,
Yes.
well, first of all, showing off our brilliant T-shirts. This year,
Absolutely.
new. For the people
Nice,
watching
aren't
every
they?
year, you might have noticed we've gone professional now. Uniform. Had nothing to do with what Sean thought of our regular clothing. This is just promoting the IATEFL. And it does help, I guess, when we're talking to people. It does help that we now
Yeah, we're recognisable. Yeah,
recognisable.
also. Yeah.
we need the T-shirts to become famous.
And can I just add? So I think that a delegate said this to you, that you spoke to somebody last year and their friend recognized you this year, saying,
Oh, yeah.
that, oh yeah, you spoke to my friend and didn't really want to do it.
We are we're not famous. We're talking to the famous people. So after you put up with us for a bit, like we'll be talking to some of the actually like people who keep this IATEFL running.
Absolutely.
So we've got some brilliant speakers lined up for today.
And I think that I have missed that as well, talking to people and just being around like-minded people, saying hello to people we saw last year or 2 years ago, and it's brilliant.
Oh yeah.
Brilliant. And we haven't been in Brighton since 2018, so it's nice to be at the same venue. I must say that our studio has got incredible view.
Yeah, but there's a bit because people at home won't be able to see this. But to this
You know
one,
what?
we've got a bar, and then to that side, we actually have the seaside views. So
That is true. We will try and show you at some point during the week. I'm sure we can get the camera turned around so that you can see. It's gorgeous. Yeah, gorgeous.
So we are going to go live with one of our interviewees. So Nikki is going to speak to our first guest after this ad. So see you in a bit.
Welcome to Brighton, the vibrant seaside city ensconced along the southern coast of England. Prepare to embark on a journey of discovery as we uncover the fascinating and quirky facts that make Brighton truly unique. Calling all artists, filmmakers and literature enthusiasts, Brighton is brimming with creative energy. Did you know the city boasts the oldest purpose-built cinema in the UK, the Duke of York's Picture House, which opened its doors in 1910? And bookworms might recognise Brighton as the stomping ground for the iconic detective Miss Phryne Fisher from the popular Phryne Fisher Mysteries series. So, whether you're a film buff, a literature lover, or simply someone who appreciates artistic expression, Brighton provides a hub for all things creative.
starting our live show this afternoon, and I'm very pleased to be joined by a very special guest. This is Lucy. Hello, Lucy. Welcome.
Hello, Nikki. Lovely to be here.
It's lovely to have you here. Lucy, you're speaking at IATEFL this afternoon, in fact.
Yes.
But before we get to the presentation and you tell us about the session, tell us a bit about you. Where do you work? What's your role?
Okay, so I'm based in Reggio Calabria, which is right down on the toenail of Italy, just across from Sicily. I work for IH British School, and my job there is Director of Innovation, which sounds a bit posh, doesn't it?
It sounds great.
But it's covers kind of lots of things, really. So I do teaching, I do teacher training, I do recruitment, but also I look into new products and services for the school and new ways of doing things, basically.
That's fantastic. So I can imagine a conference like IATEFL is actually pretty good for finding inspiration and ideas.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Also because IATEFL is quite unique because you get a lot of people from different contexts, completely different areas. And of course, for innovation, that's brilliant. That's what you want to, you learn from different fields or different ways of doing things. So it's really great.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the one thing I love about IATEFL, like the different voices and the context and ideas that you get, because sometimes we get kind of stuck in our own rut, don't we? If everyone does things the way we do it, and we need to kind of get more inspiration from outside.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Lucy, when did you get down to the UK?
Well, actually, I've been here a week already because I went to visit. My mother is based in Wolverhampton, which is a very glamorous town, in case anybody wants to visit it. So I've been there for a week, and then I came down here on Sunday.
Lovely. And did you go to anything yesterday at the start of the conference?
Yes, I went to a pre-conference event yesterday. I went to the LAMSIG conference event, and that was great. I mean, there was loads of idea sharing. It was a really supportive atmosphere. It was just brilliant. So got loads of ideas to take home from that.
Oh, that's fantastic. In case anyone isn't too sure what a pre-conference event is, I mean, it is what it says it is, and that's the day before the actual conference starts. We have the special interest groups giving a day of talks which are just focused on one area. So that's what Lucy went to yesterday. Okay, and today you're giving your talk. It's got quite an interesting title. Do you want to tell us what it is?
Yeah, so the title is The Joy of Being Wrong on so many levels. So I've got quite a lot of experience in being wrong, so I feel like, I can talk about this. But it's the reason it's on so many different levels is because being wrong is like a huge area. So we're going to start off by looking at how to use language mistakes in the classroom. There's lots of practical activities, things people can use next week in their classes. But then we're going to go into, without saying too much, we're going to go into being wrong in a broader sense.
Okay.
And that somehow is going to be linked into things like the Sustainable Development Goals and things like that, but lots of practical activities.
Oh, this is brilliant. That's something that I think people definitely come for. Where did the idea for the talk come from?
Well, I wanted to do something that I know about, and being wrong is something that I know about. I think everybody does. And I just, I'd had some inspiration as well from a training session that I'd been to with Adrian Underhill, who's at IATEFL as well. And it was about mistakes and kind of taking the shame away from mistakes. And I just found it really, really interesting. And I started implementing some of that in my classes, and I found it to be really successful. So I just wanted to share the ideas, really.
That sounds super interesting because, we bristle, don't we? When we hear mistakes, everyone thinks, oh, that's what I don't want to do. So the fact that you're going to talk about it and show us how we can perhaps make it into a good thing. Yeah, it's perfect. Oh, and the ideas that you're going to show the audience this afternoon, is this what you use with your staff and teachers at the school? Yeah,
so these are kind of ideas that I would use with students, probably aged about 12 up, although there are some that you can adapt for younger learners. So I use them with teenagers as with the adults. I also use them with staff. So there are ways, maybe not so much language mistakes, but ways of being wrong, and by sort of taking the shame away and the judgment away from being wrong about something, it creates this kind of atmosphere of psychological safety. And that's a great thing to have in either in the classroom or in the staff room or wherever.
So if it's not a language mistake, could it be a factual mistake, or is it something different?
Yeah.
Example?
So I can't say too much.
Okay. Without giving the talk away.
But yes, it's perhaps more with beliefs and assumptions. So I think, I mean, it's quite hard, isn't it, to be wrong nowadays, because like if you say something wrong, for example, on social media, you just get all these comments of like, you know, haters and so on. So yeah, it's also connected to that, wrong beliefs, assumptions, things like that.
Oh,
So it's very
okay.
vague, isn't it?
No, that's brilliant. So in my head, I'm conjuring up images of almost like mindset and having to maybe change it.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. This is interesting.
Sorry, I'm being really secretive.
No,
about
it's absolutely
it.
fine. It's absolutely fine. I know you've got your session later, so you're saving it so everyone can see it.
Yeah.
Okay, so once your session's over and done with and you can relax and breathe, what are you looking forward to for the rest of the conference?
Well, I think, I mean, I'm really going to enjoy sort of going to the exhibition as well, because then you can meet all these people that you've met at previous conferences. It's really nice. And I'm enjoying going out in the evening. I'm enjoying going to the sessions. So there's a lot of sessions that I've kind of picked out in the brochure that I want to go to. Quite a few that are connected more perhaps with leadership, management, innovation, the things that I'm kind of focusing on in my job, but also I like to go to different ones, like just a normal one about teaching, just to get some ideas for my classes. There's just so much. It's really hard to find,
I know,
like to decide, because you know maybe there are 15-20 sessions on at the same time, and I just find it really, really hard to just choose one.
they all look brilliant, don't
Yeah.
they? And so what are the themes that you've kind of seen from the conference this year? What can you see emerging? You mentioned there's a lot on leadership management, which is definitely important for a certain demographic.
Yeah.
What else have you noticed in the program?
Well, probably because I'm doing a talk that includes it, but I've noticed there's quite a lot on sustainable development goals. So
there is.
That seems to be like a big theme. AI, I think, is still a big theme as well. You know, we're all looking for ideas on how to use ChatGPT to do like assessment. I think there was a talk on using ChatGPT for assessment and things like that. So I think those themes are still very, very strong. And working, because we work in a private language school as well, it's nice that we've also got talks on young learners, so for all ages, for every kind of class type there's something. And but I think the big themes that I've noticed so far are those.
I was going to ask actually, because in your blurb, I know you don't give away too much, but you did mention the agenda goals of 2030. For anyone at home that's not too sure what you're referring to, can you tell us?
So these are basically the sustainable development goals. So working towards climate action, things like eliminating hunger in the world, having sort of looking after the sea, and so a lot of them actually are focused very much on the environment and sustainability. And the best thing about it is that there are loads of resources on the web that work really, really well in the English language classroom. So it's a good way of teaching English, but also teaching really important, or raising awareness of really important issues that affect the future of our students.
Absolutely. And it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because some people might think, oh, is that our job to teach that? And so maybe again it's another perhaps mind shift into maybe it is, maybe that's what we should be working with now.
Well, I mean, there's that poem, isn't there, by Alan Maley? I think he read it at the IATEFL. He wrote this poem, and it's a really good poem about, you know, you should just be teaching English or whatever subject you're teaching. And then I think it's somewhere on the British Council website. You can find it. It's such a good poem. And I think that shows that, you know, we have a responsibility to teach other things as well, not just, and through English. I mean, we're in the communicative language classroom. You know, we can use our position to also raise awareness of things. Maybe it's not so much teaching, but raising awareness of issues that are important as well to our students.
And I think that perhaps the learners are speaking about this in their own language anyway, so it would be nice to then be able to transfer that into English.
Definitely.
So if anyone is around and watching this and is at the conference, you're at 17:20 today in meeting room 1C, I think.
That's, thanks. I couldn't remember the room, but it's definitely 17:20.
Perfect. So come along and see Lucy. And if not, hopefully we might grab her afterwards and have a little chat and see how it went. Lucy, thank you so much for talking to us this afternoon.
Oh, thank you. It's
all the very best. And we'll see you soon.
Great. Thank you.
If we're talking sustainability in education, paper seems to be the new big bad. But is it really as bad as we're led to believe? Well, it's actually not as black and white as we think. If I share something with my students online, that definitely has an impact. Our online environment has an impact on the planet and on water use. So sometimes printing can be more sustainable. How do you know? That's the tricky one. This Belgian newspaper once did a test to see if their newspaper was more sustainable if it was read online or on paper. And they found out that for their newspaper, as long as you read it for 30 minutes or longer, it was more sustainable to read it in paper than online. Now, that also has to do with the fact that they used recycled paper, good ink. Impact was also decided by the distribution center that they used and how locally the distribution, obviously, of the newspaper was. But then again, that also applies to us. Now, my advice when you're printing, print what's necessary. And if you can reuse your copies for multiple classes, definitely always do. If you can't, don't feel guilty. And a tip, I found that if you have at the end of class 10 or 15 minutes left, the best listening assignment and also patience assignment, Google origami tutorials and have your classes turn their handouts into origami tutorials. Because honestly, isn't this T-Rex the cutest handout you've seen in ages?
Ready to revolutionize your ELT courses? Introducing ITN Education's captivating videos, the key to transforming English language learning. With our expertly crafted content, we'll accelerate language acquisition like never before. Whether in class or online, our custom-built videos support your learning objectives. Discover ITN Education at IATEFL and elevate your ELT courses today. ITN Education, where learning comes to life.
Again, and let's welcome to our studio Fiona Dunlop. Hello, Fiona.
Hi.
Nice
To meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Fiona, for the people watching from home, can you tell us about your ELT journey? So how did you start your journey?
I certainly can. I love talking about my journey. I've been in ELT for about 35 years. I started my career in Cairo, where I did my teacher training. And then from Cairo, I moved to Brazil, where I started to get into ELT management. And I've now been back in the UK for 25 years.
Oh, wow.
And I've been in the same school for 23 years, which I love.
Excellent. That's brilliant. So, what are your interests and your passion when it comes to ELT? What's something that you're really interested in?
Oh, I think some of you will know that I love talking about professional development, and I see that very much as connected to our own personal development. It's what keeps me stimulated after so many years. Professional development, and also how that feeds into quality assurance, quality standards, and how that then raises the profile of ELT as a profession. So I see all of that as interlinked, but really professional development is my real passion.
Brilliant. Now, this year you're talking about professional development, but from a different angle. So can you tell us about your presentation that is about well-being, staff well-being?
I certainly can. So tomorrow I'll be talking at 4:00 here at IATEFL, and I'm talking about a practical approach to staff well-being. I'm the principal of the school where I work in London. I've been director of studies, and I've been academic director. And as I said, I've been there for 23 years. And so it made me reflect, along with what we went through in the pandemic, it made me reflect on what's made me stay. What do I love about my job? We've got good staff retention anyway in the school. And I thought, well, how I see it, and from observing and talking to staff that I work with, is that our attention to well-being in the staff is ingrained in everything we do. And that's what I would like to talk about tomorrow, to look at what the organisational culture can look like, what role we play as individuals, and what role we play as leaders in really enhancing that, and not taking our eye off the ball as well, because I think it can be quite easy to think everything's harmonious in the school, people seem fine, and become complacent. And I think it's always about stimulating, seeing the value in people, investing in them, and really making them feel their value within the organisation.
Brilliant. I think that you mentioned a key term here, the role that leadership plays in the staff well-being. So it is easy to talk about well-being, but what is one, or rather the first practical aspect that leaders need to follow in order to encourage staff from well-being?
No, good question. Again, for me, and some of you have seen me talk about this before, but I really see the importance in getting to know your teams on all sorts of levels, knowing what's going on in their lives without being too nosy, of course, but knowing what motivates them, what stimulates them, what they want from us as a school, what we can do to make them their best selves, and really taking that time. I think we should never be too busy stuck at our desks doing admin. We must always remember that there are people, and those people, if we invest in our internal customer, let's call them, then the reputation of the school is enhanced, and it's only good for everyone, really.
Absolutely. And can I please ask you, it's very interesting because well-being is not only one area that can go up, but it's like a roller coaster, and people are at different levels in terms of their well-being at different times. So how can leaders and managers make sure that they balance this in the staff room?
Again, really good point. I mean, I think what we saw coming out of the pandemic, we were open all the way through the pandemic, and we created a buddy systems, and we created mini teams for people to be aware of each other and to try and create more of an interest, more of a kindness, so that it's not only coming from the leaders, it's not only coming from the top, but it's a shared responsibility to be curious, to be interested, and to look out for each other. And I often see a parallel with that in safeguarding, in safeguarding of children and vulnerable people. We're all responsible for that, and I think that extends to well-being of staff and well-being of students. And of course, people are all on different journeys at different times. And as a leader, it's about remembering that we're not dealing with one homogenous team, but we must know that everyone is at a different place in their career, in their mind, in their personal lives at any one time.
Absolutely. What inspired you, apart from COVID, of course, or apart from what we've been through in general? What else inspired you to talk about this topic?
Oh, well, I talk about getting to know your staff a lot. I've always been a really intense person in terms of reflecting and thinking about people. My background in my studies was I have a master's in psychology. I've got a real interest in people, people interaction, people management. I find it fascinating. So this just feels at the perfect time to pull it all together for me.
Brilliant. Now, for the people watching us from home, what would you say is one practical tip that they can follow for their own well-being?
For your own well-being, I've got so many. For your own well-being, I think try to keep things in perspective and to look for a balance. Sometimes things are tough, but keeping it in perspective and thinking we will get through this, and what alternatives are there if we're not managing so well with our well-being? Is it to do with external factors? What can we do to change that? Is it internal? What small shift could we make ourselves? Can we communicate it better with our teams, with our managers? So I will talk about that for a long time. That's more than one tip. And I think also making sure that work is not the be all and end all, that there must be fun in our work and there must be fun in our lives.
Absolutely. So, I want to ask you this. So now well-being sounds like a hot topic. What would you say is the vision for staff well-being in the future? Where do you think it will go in terms of policies, in terms of practical activities?
I think it must be something that it's like air. It's just there, that we're all responsible for it. It's led from the top, of course, the culture of an organisation, but it must run through everything. And I think that should be the future, from the messaging that we give at interview, to the professional development that we offer, to the meetings that we have, the communications, the team building activities, looking out for each other. I think it must be completely ingrained. And what I would say with that as well, and this is not a terribly fancy thing, But I think a part of well-being in an organization is making sure that you've got good systems, structure, organization, resources. Things are running well. If things are running well, then half the job is done. And what I mean by that is not over-promising anything, but making sure if you're a director of studies, for example, making sure that the teachers' basic needs are looked after in the staff room. The staff room is tidy, there's photocopy paper, etc. All those little things that make their lives easier. All that feeds into well-being.
Excellent. Now, Fiona, before we say goodbye, what is something that you're looking forward to in this year's conference?
Oh, in this year's conference, I love IATEFL. For me, I love the whole thing. I feel like I'm at home when I walk through those doors. It's seeing the old faces, meeting the new faces, taking away something from every single talk that I go to and every single meeting. And the social aspects, there's not one thing. I think IATEFL for me just gets better and better, and it's one of the highlights of my year.
I think that this is very important. As you mentioned, the networking contributes so well to our own well-being,
Of
because
course.
we're here with people that we've met in the past, people that we see in sessions, complete strangers, but we get together.
Yeah, completely. And we need that. We're often working in isolation, particularly managers. And we need this peer support and this boost, I think, to our mental health.
Fantastic. Are there any sessions here that you're particularly interested in? Any themes that you're interested in?
Themes. I'm interested in this theme, certainly, that I'm talking about. And I also went to another session just before this with Danny Sherry, who was talking about burnout, which is kind of the opposite. And that was really interesting. I know there's a lot about AI, and one of our teachers tomorrow is talking on that topic as well.
Excellent.
So I'll be there to support him as well.
Now that you've mentioned AI, I want to ask you whether you think that AI has an effect on our well-being.
I'm sure that, yes, it must do. It must do. But I think we need to remember to live in the moment, and just remember the people and face-to-face online as well is so important. I think, again, I refer back to the pandemic, and we as a school in London, we thought that online would be here to stay and what was going to happen to our face-to-face business. But students want to come back. They want that face-to-face. So I think there's a space for everything, and I think it will be an integrated relationship between AI and face-to-face existence
agree.
in our schools.
Absolutely agree. Brilliant. So Fiona, it was fantastic to talk to you today.
Thank you.
Good luck with your presentation tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Thank
And
you.
I will be looking out for you to see how it went, and also to get some more tips on well-being.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Fiona. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Hi there. Today let's talk about a simple yet powerful tool for managing stress and improving focus. So this video is going to be all about your breathing. Whenever you feel stressed or confused, I want you to imagine a square. And with your finger, trace the square up, side, down, side. While you do that, breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Let's try this together. Do this as many times as you wish until you feel safe again.
Hello everybody, my name's Lucy Horsfield and I'm Head of Business Development for Language Cert UK, Ireland and Malta. We're so proud to be sponsoring IATEFL this year. It's such an important event for the global ELT community, and we'd love to chat with you. We'll be at booth number 20, where we're particularly excited to tell you about Language Cert Academic, our multi-level test for international university admissions, as well as our other single-level tests and online solutions. We're recruiting for test centres at the moment, so if that's something you're interested in, we can also have a chat about that. And we have some brilliant partnership options to generate some income for your language school. So please come and see us. We'd love to meet you at booth number 20. Have a great conference.
everybody. We've got a rare few minutes of just Georgia and I, so I thought we could tell you what we've been doing. Georgia.
You know what? There are so many things that are new in IATEFL this year, Nikki.
Yeah.
And first of all, we have got a fantastic, absolutely incredible list of social program events. So every morning we have got mindfulness, because now I was talking to Fiona about well-being, and we have got the mindfulness sessions. Maybe I can sneak in tomorrow.
That would be great, and film something.
Yes.
And then maybe we can show you so that you can see what it is. So, but this is interesting. How do you understand mindfulness?
That's a very interesting question. I think that it's the feeling of being in peace with yourself. This feeling of calmness that you feel at different stages of your life. What about you? What do you think? Mindfulness.
I think yes, and I also think it's the ability to focus on and being present on one thing. I don't know how it is for you, but with life as hectic as it is these days, someone can be talking to me and I'm thinking, oh, I must do the shopping or something like that, you know. And it's just like maybe just learning to concentrate and being present.
Absolutely.
And being mindful.
It can be very easy to be distracted while you're at IATEFL, because there are so many things going on. So as you said, this focus can be rare. Why? Because you have got the exhibition, you have got the session, you have got other events going on. So what I've noticed today is that people have started finding little corners around the venue where they just want to relax, absorb it all in, and then continue.
Yeah, and I think that's super important. I mean, even we did it, but don't tell anyone.
Yes. We did have a nap earlier today.
We did.
We need it.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Because we had quite a hectic morning, didn't we?
Oh, yes. We had so many people registering today, welcoming people. Can I just say that everyone who's come in has been absolutely amazing, so enthusiastic about the conference.
That's true.
So you have spoken to a lot of people taking videos.
Yep, I did. There are so many people from absolutely everywhere, every corner of the globe, and everyone is so happy to be here, and everyone's kind.
Yes.
And it just gives you so much energy. So yeah, I had a really positive start to the day, as I think you did too.
Oh, absolutely. And I wanted to mention that today, this morning, I had a brilliant session with the first timers at IATEFL. Can I share my experience with the first timers?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it was brilliant. Nikki, I was not expecting so many people to come and meet us at the IATEFL stand. So a lot of people who come to IATEFL for the first time came to say hello, and we had a good 40, 50 people coming to join us.
So there were a lot of people, and but it's such a nice thing to do, because the conference is so large, and if you come on your own, or even if you come with a colleague, you might feel a little bit overwhelmed, and you don't know anybody, and it's such a great thing to do to meet the other people that are there for the first time.
Exactly.
But Georgia, carry on.
So it was really interesting, because we gave to our first timers different activities to do to get to know each other. For example, we divided them in groups depending on whether they were presenting or not presenting, depending on the month where they were, when they were born, or their favorite color. And so they had the chance to socialize and also share their experiences and give each other tips on how to attend sessions and what to do in Brighton.
Yeah, which is really important.
Absolutely, yes.
So that was, and I was watching you, Georgia, and it looked absolutely fantastic. And I loved the range of people that had come for the first time, who were just as a delegate wanting to absorb everything and meet new people, and then other people that were presenting for the first time. And the topics, the range of topics, their enthusiasm, fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
The energy in the room, can I just say, it is incredible. Increasing.
But you know, so what tips did they give you, or did they give each other for things to do in Brighton?
Right, that's a very good question, because and those of you who are watching at home, if you're coming to IATEFL, or when you're coming to IATEFL, one of the tips that I heard was take photos of the sessions, of what there is on the screen, but put those photos on separate folders on your mobile phone.
Okay.
So that when you go back home, you can have a separate folder just for IATEFL, and then you can continue your professional development like this. So you can go back while you're on the plane back home and see all of the photos, and then that will help you reflect better. Nikki, what advice would you have for people attending the sessions?
Do you know, I'd actually say less is more at this point, because I know from my own experience. I'm sorry, someone's waving at us. Yeah, I've no. Okay, what? So what? Okay. No, less is more. I just think there's so much to see. But with anything, if you don't overdo it, because then you'll get IATEFL tired in like 5 minutes flat. But yeah, perhaps choose a theme, or don't try and do everything. It's not going to happen.
Exactly.
It's too much. It's too much.
Yes. And you know what? A lot of people who came to register today, when I asked them what topics are you interested in, they told me anything or everything. And I think that this is a great mindset to start by thinking, okay, I am ready to get out of my comfort zone, explore what IATEFL has to provide, and also be ready to learn and absorb as much knowledge as possible. Excellent. So we have got, however, more interviews coming in.
We do.
Excellent. And we are ready, and we can see Sean giving us a...
My name is Vanessa. I'm from Brazil. I'm looking forward to see all the presentations. There's some very good things with my colleagues and other people.
Hi, my name is Lara. I'm from Brazil, and I look forward to learn a lot about English, teaching English as a second language, and also...
Hi, I'm Karen Morton. I'm from the University of Bradford, which is in West Yorkshire. And I've been to IATEFL a number of times over the years, and what I'm particularly hoping to get out of this one is lots of useful information about testing, which is something I'm involved with a lot now.
Hi, my name is Emilio. I am from Miami, Florida, and I'm based currently in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It's my first time at IATEFL. I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to learning so much about, especially about teacher education. That's my main focus here and at the British Council where I work. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here.
So my name's Rose Aylett. I'm from Devon in the southwest of the UK, but I live in Liverpool, and I'm here as a plenary speaker. And I'm most looking forward to going for a swim in the sea on the beach in Brighton if the wind calms down.
And welcome back. And I'm here with Ninash from the British Council. Could you introduce yourself?
Hi, thanks, Anka. I'm Ninas from the British Council. I am the EdTech lead for our English programs team. So I'm responsible for quality standards and innovation in EdTech for teacher development. I'm based out of Mumbai in India. Yep, and I've been with the British Council for about 12 years now.
So you came all the way here for the IATEFL?
Yes, I've been coming for a few years now. Yeah,
it's good, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic.
British Council's always doing something.
Yes.
So what's cooking at the moment?
Right. So the big thing that we have coming up from the British Council, there are several events, of course. There are some wonderful presentations by my colleagues and other speakers. Our signature event this year is on the Wednesday 17th at 4:45 p.m. In the Syndicate 2 room. And we will be live streaming our signature event as well. So,
that's good to know.
Yeah. So if you can't make it to Brighton, then no worries. You can have a look at our Teaching English Facebook page, and there will be a live stream of the entire event. You'll be able to participate in the polls and have your say online as well.
And what's the event about?
So the event this year is all about AI, and we're looking to address the question, what's the future of English in the age of AI? That's based on a research report that the British Council brought out. I was one of the co-authors of that report. So in December, we published this report. There's a lot of talk about AI. You can see a lot of the presentations at the conference this year are about it.
Yeah.
So we actually brought out a report. It's a very comprehensive report that covers all aspects of AI for use in English language teaching and learning in education systems. It includes a systematic literature review of the last 10 years of literature in this area. It includes a teacher survey. So we surveyed over 1,300 teachers around the world, and we've captured their views in the report. And we also had some in-depth interviews with some key stakeholders. So all of that's in the report and more. But if you've already read the report, there still is something new for you in the presentation tomorrow. We will be presenting a sneak peek of some updated research findings that we have. It's exclusive to the IATEFL audience. So yeah, I would encourage everyone to tune in tomorrow.
Sounds good, and we should. Now, that sounds like a comprehensive report. How long did it take?
Oh, yeah, that's a really good question. It took a few months, actually. I mean, I think a few months is a really ambitious timeline for the kind of report that we produced, but I would say we started working on it somewhere in about April or May last year, and we published in December, which was a tight timeline, actually, considering it's a 80-something page report and with all the different moving parts. But it was a fantastic experience. For the stakeholders that we interviewed, I think some of those stakeholders will be at IATEFL right now. I know that Tom Kiddle from Nile, for example, was one of the stakeholders we interviewed. He's in the exhibition today. So, if you've read the report and you're at IATEFL, it's a great opportunity to interact with some of the people who helped shape that report as well.
And the report is about the future of English language teaching and AI. Now, the obvious question is, what does the future look like?
You'll have to come to my event to find out.
Oh, that sounds exciting.
No.
Spoilers, please.
Okay. Well, so some of the key themes that have come out of the report are actually some of the things that were addressed during the plenary today. I would say that we look very specifically at English language teaching and learning, and the reason this report is sort of a first of its kind is it's the first that looks at all ages. So it looks at school level, it looks at higher education, and it looks at adult learning. So that was the first of its kind study to do that. In terms of, there's so many findings, I don't know where to start, but some interesting findings. There's definitely, when we asked our teachers the things that they were concerned about and what they wanted to know, there's definitely a sense that about, I think, 50-something% of teachers said they weren't prepared in terms of teaching using AI. They hadn't received training.
Yeah.
I think only 20% said that they had received some kind of training, but about 80% of them said that they were using AI tools. So that shows you there's a gap there, right? Like
Yeah.
we're using AI tools, but there hasn't been training. That's just one of a lot of insights. So yeah, it's a 90-minute session in total. So we'll be doing our session, which focuses around the updated findings from the AI report. And that'll be followed immediately by my colleague, Mariana Felice, who's going to be talking. It's a practical explainer about AI models. And I think that'll be really interesting. Mariana is a senior researcher and data scientist at the British Council. So something different for ELT professionals to come to.
Yeah, but more hands-on, practical.
Yeah.
And before it's talking about the report.
Yeah.
And you discussed one of the worries is that we're not prepared.
Yeah.
Most of the teachers, me included, we know a bit about AI. The generation we're teaching knows more.
Yeah.
And yet we're still using it. Are there any other worries?
Definitely. That's, again, a brilliant question, Anka. I think, so if we look at some of the challenges that came out of the report, some key challenges are that there are challenges around just limitations of AI. I mean, there's a lot of hype around the capabilities, which of course we should all be aware of the capabilities.
True.
But there are limitations, and what can happen is when students they have expectations of what let's say a chatbot can do. And then when they come up against the limitations of the chatbot, maybe wrong answers, or maybe unnatural interactions, it doesn't quite recognize what you want it to do, they lose interest in using the tool.
Yeah.
So that's one of the challenges. Another key challenge is around fear. So there's also the sense that, you are afraid of not understanding how the AI operates. You may not understand how it's going to use your data, which is a big one. So there is that. There are several others. I don't want to give everything away right now because I do want people to come to the presentation, but those are the key challenges.
Yeah.
There are also a lot of our key witnesses, we call them, our stakeholders. They told us, a lot of them expressed a sort of concern around bias in AI. The fact that, especially when it comes to language teaching, certain automatic translation tools, for example, can include certain varieties of a language and exclude other varieties. So there are concerns around bias even in that sense and inclusion.
Yeah.
So those are some of the challenges.
Now that's a lot of dangers and worries, but I'm sure there's opportunities as well. What are the good things about AI?
So there are a lot of opportunities. And really, the first part of the report, which looks at the literature review, we looked at 10 years of research in this area to answer the question, how is AI being used in English language teaching and learning in education systems globally? And there are so many ways in which it can be used. So it can be used for teaching productive skills, for example, helping students with their productive skills. So, for example, when it comes to writing, there are research studies that have shown that using something like Google Translate, automatic translation tool, machine translation can help because it's used as a support tool for students writing in their second language.
True.
There are examples of where chatbots have been used to provide language coaching to help improve students' speaking.
Yeah.
Or AI-powered apps have been used to improve students' pronunciation. So there's a whole host of different ways. I think possibly my favorite use, when I say favorite, I mean just the most interesting finding for me from our report.
Yeah.
Is where it was used to help students with self-regulation. So when you talk about self-regulation, you're talking about students being able to control their feelings and their behaviors to achieve their learning goals.
Yeah.
Now, when you're learning a new language, it's normal to feel nervous when you're asked to speak in that language.
Definitely.
And to worry, oh my God, I'm going to make mistakes or I'm
Yeah.
going to get something wrong. And there was a study that found that actually using automatic speech recognition and having students practice with that helped reduce their anxiety when they were speaking with other people. So really interesting finding, I
That's
thought.
good, because I think every English language teacher will recognize that speaking is hard for our students.
Yeah.
All of our learners, like, they struggle. Speaking is hard, and anything that can take away that sort of nervousness and make them shine is
Absolutely.
good. Is definitely an opportunity.
Absolutely. And also, I mean, to add to that, it's hard. Speaking is hard, and also finding opportunities to speak in the target language in English, for example, if you're a student of English, then finding the chance to speak with someone who speaks English is also quite challenging. So I found that was a really interesting finding, like reducing learners' anxiety also.
Definitely. I think when we talk about AI in the classroom, we often talk about writing, chatbots, artificial intelligence in terms of text producing, but actually taking away that sounds good.
Yeah. There are lots of interesting insights like that in the report, which again, it's a long report, so hard to summarize very quickly. But there are lots of interesting insights like that. So I'd encourage everyone to go download it and come to the event where we'll pull out some of the highlights for you.
And where can we download the report?
So you can download the report. There's a link and a QR code that'll be shared in tomorrow's event. It's also downstairs at the British Council stand at the exhibition. There's a QR code. So if you're at IATEFL, then you can go and download that. Or you can head to our Teaching English pages where we have a page where you can enter your details and get the report as well.
So if I get this straight, both the report is online and like here, and the talk is here.
Yes.
And online available.
Yes.
So basically, there's no excuse not to attend.
Great.
There's no excuse not to do our homework and read up on this. And there's no excuse not to attend.
Absolutely.
So last question, why should people attend?
Okay, people should attend because, first of all, it's going to be a very interactive event. So we're not going to just talk at you. We're going to get you involved and ask you what you think. You're going to get It's a sneak peek. Nobody has seen the updated findings. So people may have downloaded the report and read the report, but the findings that we show tomorrow with the update, the research update, the reason there is a research update is really that our report looked at initially everything until 2023, but in the later stage of 2023 there was a lot, because obviously with the release of all these Gen AI tools there was more interest, more research being produced then, and we wanted to capture
It is
that.
so fast. It's like you can't keep up.
Exactly.
It's-
So
yeah.
to keep up, we wanted to do, the intention was to come back and do a review. So we've done a bit of a review. We've got some updated findings. So attend because you'll have fun. It's interactive. We will capture your opinions as well and show show you some of the highlights of the report. You learn more than is in the report because there's a research update as well, and it's the first time anyone has seen it, so with this audience. And then, as I said, there'll also be my brilliant colleague Mariano, who's going to do an AI explainer, explaining AI models, talking about how the British Council uses AI as well. So some really, really interesting presentations.
So vital topic, interesting, fabulous people. No reason not to go.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
Then just go. And thank you.
My name is Vanessa. I'm from Brazil. I'm looking forward to see all the presentations. There's some very good things with my colleagues and other people.
Hi, my name is Lara. I'm from Brazil, and I look forward to learn a lot about English, teaching English as a second language, and also.
Hi, I'm Karen Martin. I'm from the University of Bradford, which is in West Yorkshire. And I've been to IATEFL a number of times over the years. And what I'm particularly hoping to get out of this one is lots of useful information about testing, which is something I'm involved with a lot now.
Hi, my name is Emilio. I am from Miami, Florida, and I'm based currently in São Paulo, Brazil. It's my first time at IATEFL. I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to learning so much about, especially about teacher education. That's my main focus here and at the British Council where I work. And yeah, I think I'm really excited to be here.
So my name's Rose Aylett. I'm from Devon in the southwest of the UK, but I live in Liverpool, and I'm here as a plenary speaker. And I'm most looking forward to going for a swim in the sea on the beach in Brighton if the wind calms down.
Welcome back to our IATEFL live studio. We were talking with Nikki before about our first timers, and I'm very happy because I have got in the studio with me and a first timer, Laura Pratt. So Laura, welcome to our studio.
Thank you.
Laura, you're a first timer.
Yes, that's right.
Excellent. So first of all, can you introduce yourself to our audience watching from home?
Sure. So my name's Laura Pratt, and I work for the British Council in Japan as a teacher trainer, and I'm from Australia.
Brilliant. And as a first timer, what inspired you to come to IATEFL?
I've presented at a few conferences in Japan, and I really wanted to go overseas and find out some different viewpoints from different people.
Excellent. And are you presenting at the conference this year?
Yes.
Brilliant. And what is your session about?
My session is part of a forum on CPD. So I'll be talking about training Japanese primary school teachers to teach English.
Oh, amazing. So I think that IATEFL is a massive CPD, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So what sessions have you attended so far today on day one?
I think the most two really interesting sessions. It's only just started. So I've attended one session about assessment and assessment literacy, which was really important. It's a big gap for a lot of teachers. And also one about genre analysis of lectures, which was really, really interesting.
Fantastic. And what is your biggest takeaway from today, from day one so far?
I mean, I think it's only day one, but seeing different perspectives and hearing people from different backgrounds is the biggest takeaway.
Excellent. And is this your first time in Brighton?
No. I used to live nearby, actually.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Excellent. So you're back for the conference.
Yeah.
Excellent. And we have got the exhibition as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw you at the exhibition, what are you interested in when you walk around the different exhibitors? What are you looking for?
Actually, I was looking for some books on teaching test preparation for young learners. That's something that I don't see a lot of in Japan. So I wanted to see what's available.
Excellent. And as a teacher trainer yourself, what would you say teachers should be looking out for when they go to big conferences like IATEFL?
I mean, I think as a teacher trainer or as a teacher, the most important thing is to meet teachers from different countries. I think we think a lot about our own context a lot, especially in Japan. And it's really important to hear what's happening in other places.
Exactly. And where do you see teacher training going in the future, for example? What do you think would be the focus in the coming years?
In Japan?
Yes,
in Japan?
In Japan and in general.
I hope very much that there will be more focus on Japanese teachers leading lessons as the main teacher rather than assistant language teachers.
I see.
That's what I hope.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And what role do you think AI will play in teacher training?
In Japan, I'm not sure because we're quite behind in technology in general. So remains to be seen.
That's very interesting.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
And what about the world in general? What do you think? How do you think AI will form or shape teacher training?
I think it's going to take some of the legwork out of making materials for teacher trainers, and it might also be helpful for things like assessing speaking and breaking down texts, but we'll have to wait and see.
Exactly. Do you use AI?
No.
No? Not yet? Maybe?
Not yet. Not yet.
Fantastic. So what topics are you interested in, Laura?
I'm interested in teacher training, obviously, and I'm interested in literacy and teaching young learners.
Fantastic. So, Laura, it was really nice to chat with you. And as I said to all of the first timers as well this morning, it is great to see you here. We hope that you have a fantastic conference. And then by the end of the week, just come and say hello back and tell us about your experience.
Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Believe that you came into my life. You made me feel again. Now it's my turn. You say you've always been a little bit shy, but I can put an end to your fears. Let me show you a place where you gon' wanna move your feet until they start to bleed. DJ, take it away. Tonight is all for you and me. So baby, spin and let the music begin. I know you feel it within, so go ahead and just spin. Just spin for me. Won't you spin? Don't let the doubt in you win. I know you feel it within, so go ahead and just spin. Just spin for me. Won't you? I know it's hard for you to give it a try, but you are not alone. I'm here with you.
I'm back. Now, we've been talking about staff well-being and well-being in general. I think that this is a very hot topic, and I'm very happy because I have got Emma going with me. Emma, welcome to our studio.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Emma, so first of all, for the people watching us from home, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's, first of all, sorry for my croaky voice. I've got a bit of a cold. My name's Emma Gowing. I'm based in Madrid, in Spain, and I work for a school called Milton School. And I'm the academic manager and teacher development manager there. Yeah.
Brilliant. And is this your first IATEFL experience?
It's actually my second. I came to Harrogate last year.
Oh,
Yeah.
excellent. Yeah. So as an academic manager, you've spoken about well-being as well.
Yeah.
What was your session about today?
Well, I was really focused on well-being from an organizational standpoint. So rather than thinking about what teachers can do for their own well-being, I was really focused on, as an academic manager, as an academic director, what we can do better to help support teachers and to foster sort of agency and engagement within our organizations, and to sort of improve teacher well-being. So we looked at things that kind of limit teacher well-being, some of the problems in our sector at the moment, and how we can kind of mitigate some of those things.
What are the main challenges, would you say?
The main challenges? Well, I outlined quite a few in my session. I mean, I work from Spain in the private sector, so I think probably things like precarity is quite a big issue, sort of people working sort of part-time contracts but full-time hours, things like that. So that's an issue. Things like language teacher status is an issue in the private sector in Spain. Those are sort of big umbrella things, but then I sort of looked a little bit more at as well things like sort of teacher psychology, how they feel about their work, and yeah.
No, that's brilliant.
I could go on and on, but I'll try not to.
You see, this is brilliant because we tend to learn in IATEFL the challenges that other countries face, and our colleagues who teach or manage or lead in other countries. And this is what the most important element is, to get to know how we experience different issues in different countries.
Yeah.
So in your talk then, what were the audience's expectations? What would you say the people came to take from your session?
Well, I did ask them to think about that, but I didn't actually get any answers. So hopefully they'll email me and tell me whether they thought their expectations were met or not. But I think for the most part, I mean, the title of the talk was Practical Steps Towards Teacher Wellbeing. So I hope that people took away some practical ideas to help think about how they can kind of promote well-being in their organization a little bit more, and not just thinking about things like mindfulness or something like that, that's sort of more like systemic organizational kind of systems to put in place to help promote well-being and increase teacher agency and engagement.
And now for the people watching us from home, what would be one practical idea that you could give them?
Sure. Okay. One of the first practical ideas that I spoke about was the creation of a mission statement for your organization, but not just the creation of a mission statement, the co-creation of a mission statement along with your staff, with the teachers. So sort of we looked at some questions that you can sort of take to your teachers to think about, like, who you are as an organization, what you believe about teaching, what you believe about language, what you believe about yourself as a teacher. And then we in our organization, we took that discussion and we drafted a mission statement together, and then we teachers sort of looked at that, decided whether they could stand behind it, and then that was kind of posted on the wall and on the website. And we revisit that, importantly, every year. We revisit the mission statement with an influx of new teachers, so that everyone feels that they understand what our organizational mission is, and they feel part of it, and they feel part of creating it. So I think that's maybe like a good one to start with, one of the first steps to helping to create engagement within your organization. And engagement is key to teachers feeling involved and feeling a sense of pride in working there, and that leads obviously into well-being.
That's brilliant. Before our interview, I interviewed Fiona Dunlop, who also talked about well-being.
Which it's her session tomorrow, I think.
Yes, exactly. Are you going?
Of course. Yeah.
Brilliant. And I want to interview both because I have got a very important question. Now, well-being really is a roller coaster, and people are at different times in their lives, at different stages of their well-being. So how can leaders and managers make sure that we balance this roller coaster? What would you say would be a tip for that?
Well, it's a tricky question, because obviously this is why I didn't really want to talk about things like kind of mindfulness and sort of individual teachers' mental health, because that's obviously a very individual path and journey. But I think as a manager, just creating an environment where a teacher feels that they have a voice, that they have agency, that they feel listened to, where they feel that they can if they have a problem or they have something they wish to talk about, or they've got something going on in their personal life that's affecting their well-being and affecting their work, that they can come to you and talk about it. So it's really thinking about pastoral care, I think, and keeping doors open and making sure that there's channels where people can check in with one another, basically. I think that's probably the number one, having that kind of, creating that kind of environment in your workplace.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I love the fact that everybody gave a different option as well, and from different perspectives in the same question. Fantastic. Now, I will ask you the same question because that's also very interesting for me. Where do you see staff well-being going in the future? Do you think that it is a hot topic that everybody's talking about now, or do you think that this is something that will be the norm in the future?
I'd like to see it being something that's talked about as the norm in the future. Unfortunately, where I work and the sort of private sector academies in Spain, this is why it's such an important thing for me to be talking about, because I think there's a lot of people having very, very bad experiences in the teaching world, and then leaving because of it. So I'd like to see it filter down to other places, other private language institutions, because I think that people don't necessarily realize the importance of it, and it obviously has a massive impact on student achievement and the bottom line. So if you're the owner of a company, if you're sort of the director of a school, like focusing, it sounds very cynical, but focusing on teacher well-being, it filters down, trickles down. If you've got happy teachers, you've got happy students. If you've got happy students, they stay, and you've got a sort of more solid bottom line, basically. So it sounds very cynical, but I don't think people realize still the extent of the importance of it. And there's a huge teacher shortage, and there's, and I think because there's increasing burnout and stress, and teachers are leaving because of this precarity, because of the stress, because of sort of very top-down evaluative work cultures where they feel underappreciated and undercompensated. So I think it needs to be talked about more and shouted from the rooftops, honestly.
No,
because
absolutely agree.
our sector isn't improving in that sense, I don't think, at the moment.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah.
And I think that conferences like ours encourage this dialogue as well.
Yeah.
So
sort of preaching to the converted, though, probably. I mean, everyone in the room this morning came because they're interested in teacher well-being as a manager, and they're interested in helping that, have more teacher well-being in their school. Unfortunately, that it's not necessarily reaching the ears of the people who really need to be hearing it.
Yes,
but,
exactly.
Yeah.
Lovely. So apart from your session and apart from the theme of well-being, what else would you be interested in seeing at IATEFL this year, Emma?
I should have checked before we had the interview. There's so many things I want to see. I'm actually missing a session that I really want to see at the moment. Obviously, I'm going to see Fiona Dunlop's session because I want to see what she's got to say on the same topic. I'm really looking forward to is Rose Eilert's session at the plenary. I think it's on Friday. So that's probably my number one, because I think it's going to be very interesting about critical pedagogy. So that's the one I'm looking forward to, but I'm going to see many, many things and hopefully just learn a lot and catch up with colleagues. And
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to chat to you.
Really nice to chat to you too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope you get well soon.
Yes, and apologies for my voice. Thank you very much.
Excellent. So thank you very much. It was nice to talk to you.
Nice
Thank
to talk
you.
to you too, Georgia. Thanks.
Hi everybody, I'm Shan and I'm from China. I'm here at IATEFL 2024 as a steward today, and nice to meet you.
Good morning, my name is Sasis and I'm the steward for the IATEFL conference. I've come all the way from Thailand and I'm currently studying MAT at Durham University. I aim to come to the IATEFL conference as a steward to, well, assist the delegates and everybody who's interested in IATEFL in general, and I aim to help them as much as possible.
Hi, I'm Victoria. I come from China, and today I'm looking for some inspiration and some new ideas from the conference.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm delighted to be joined by Mohammed Atadali. Mohammed, welcome. It's lovely to have you with us today.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
Do you know what? And we're just going to have a hand sneak in with a cup of water for you. Yeah.
Thank you.
The best service. Mohammed, how are you enjoying IATEFL so far?
Just a second. Oh, yeah, lovely, lovely. I mean, I came this morning and then there was a huge queue at the entrance, but it was sorted out so quickly. I was so impressed, actually. So, and then I've been going around attending a couple of sessions. I had my own presentation. I met a lot of old friends from previous conferences in different parts of the world. So
we'll definitely talk about your session, but you've got quite the history with IATEFL.
Some.
So, okay, so when was your first conference?
The first conference was in Harrogate, but it was, I think, like 2008 or 9 or something. I don't remember exactly, but it was in Harrogate, I remember. And then, but after that, I attended Brighton, I think was in 2011, and Glasgow, I think it was 2017, and yeah, here and there. I don't remember completely, but yes.
And when did you first become a member?
I presume it was 1987 that I first started with the IATEFL.
So you've been teaching since 87? Or probably earlier, no?
Earlier than that. I think I started teaching in 1985, I suppose.
And where are you now? Where are you based and what do you do?
I'm in Finland and I work as the English Language and Communication Program at Jotseno College.
Okay. So what does your job involve? Coordinating courses or?
It's a lot of admin and planning, but you know that in academic circles, whatever administration job you do, you have to teach a few hours a week. That's no way. So I also teach some hours during the week. So yeah, that's how my life goes on with the Finnish academic system.
Okay, and just mentioning, we were chatting a little bit earlier before the interview, and Mohammed slipped in that you actually ran for quite an important role in IATEFL back in 2016.
That's right. I think I was one of the presidential contenders for the IATEFL presidency, and of course the competition was much better than I was. So she won the election. And then she became the president.
But you're still with the organization and do you think you'll ever go for it again?
Oh, I love this organization. So of course I'll be, yes, I have been and I will be with the organization.
Oh, that's very good to hear. So this morning you had your talk and you were talking about AI, which actually seems to be the theme, one of the major themes of the conference this year. And we had the plenary this morning. Did you see Vicky's plenary?
Oh, yes, I was there. And I was thinking, after this plenary, it would be very difficult to talk about artificial intelligence.
Well, but we don't want to spoil it. So if you haven't seen the plenary, you can actually watch it. It's going to be streamed later this evening, so you can actually see what Vicky was talking about. But you were talking about the divide.
Right.
In AI. Now, this is quite interesting because most people go in with, and here are a million things that you can do with AI and it can enhance and benefit, but you are focusing more on the divide. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Well, earlier this year, I was traveling to a country. I was somewhere, I don't want to name that country, but I saw that when I was talking about artificial intelligence to language teachers, they had a lot of different mixed feelings. So some of them were somehow quite concerned, or they were even scared to touch anything related to artificial intelligence. Some of them didn't have access, and so on. So that was that was where everything started to click in my mind about what is it and how it is different from the digital divide, because one might argue that okay, artificial intelligence is a form of digital entity, so it could be classified as digital divide. But my sort of reason for bringing up the idea of artificial intelligence divide is that artificial intelligence is quite different from the digital technology that we've been using in the past. So when we talked about computer assisted language learning earlier, we never had the opportunity to use the machines that try to mimic human behavior. They
Mhm.
were the machines that were doing certain jobs for certain pieces of inquiry. But and they didn't have the possibility. I mean, the machines or the software didn't have the possibility to learn. But now we are dealing with a phenomenon, a kind of like software, which has a huge backbone of data, and also this data is updated regularly, and it is changing, and it is
Mhm.
evolving, and the whole idea is because it is based on the neural network system of human beings, so it tries to mimic the human behavior. And actually, one of the very interesting things that it tries to mimic is one of the very interesting human behavior, and that's lying.
Lying.
Yes, yes. I mean, sometimes if you type something in Chat GPT and give it a prompt, it gives you a sort of response which is not. I mean, it does not conform to anything in the world of reality. The facts are not right. So that's why I always advise people to do fact checking if they ask artificial intelligence to do something for them.
This 100%, of course, because my understanding is that it's a language processing machine,
Mhm.
rather than having the ability to think for itself. So it's predicting what it thinks you want to hear based on however much information, and it's probably not correct. There's a high probability that it's not correct. So what does the divide look like when it comes to teachers and AI? Is it just a simple case of some people have access to it, some don't, or what do you mean?
It actually
more so?
runs much deeper than that, because access is just the first level of artificial intelligence divide. The first level, there are 4 levels defined for the artificial intelligence divide. Level 1 is when there is no access. And either there are some teachers who do have access and some teachers who don't. But then the second level is there are teachers who do have access, but they are not trained to do anything meaningful with that. And then level 3, that there are teachers who have access and they know that they can use artificial intelligence, but they are not able to do anything meaningful. And then the level 4 is when teachers do have access, do know how to do it, and can do some meaningful activities, and they can also weave it into their own curriculum and use it for the benefit of their own teaching and to enhance students' learning experiences.
And roughly, I mean, how common is it that you have in, for example, one workplace, somebody who is at level 1 and then somebody who might be at level 4? Is that common that you would have such a divide, or is it generally different demographics are in different
It's
places?
in different demographics,
Right.
because based on the geographical area, the educational background, the age, the average age level of teachers and students, so it differs from one society to another.
Okay, so how is there a way to get teachers from level 1 to level 4? Because I think AI came out, when was it, 2022? So we're still playing around, we're still not sure of the parameters, and it's it's changing, it's evolving as
Well,
well.
I
so
think I need to do a little correction here because
Okay.
AI didn't come out in 2022.
When did it come out?
It was with us even earlier, probably about like 2010 or something. But the explosion of AI as something that can do a lot of things, including helping teachers to perform their duties, is something that is quite new.
Yeah, sorry. So this is like Chat GPT was
That's right,
2022.
yes.
Absolutely.
The GPT thing generally.
Yeah. So what are you seeing now in terms of the differences between teachers, and how are you helping people, or what suggestions do you have to narrow that gap?
Well, as I said in my presentation today, I cannot emphasize enough on the role of continuous professional development, CPD, because we, like, for example, conferences such as this, or the different special interest groups like learning technologies, I actually use this occasion to propose IATEFL to have an artificial intelligence SIG, and I would like to join that SIG if anybody does it, or if they accept. I need to talk to people to see how about the administrative procedure, whether I have to write a proposal or something. But I strongly propose having an sort of AI special interest group. So continuous professional development, but this continuous professional development will be at different levels. It's not only about teachers, but I think, and I strongly believe, that professional development is needed at a lot of different levels. For example, at the level of administrators, policymakers, decision makers, sort of governments, non-NGOs, and so on, all need to put their hands in hand and sort of develop the kind of framework that is required. And when it comes to our ELT community, we need to develop some sort of certain guidelines, certain ethical guidelines, certain technological guidelines, certain pedagogical guidelines in which artificial intelligence is used, because rampant use of artificial intelligence is not going to be useful to anybody.
It's not, and it's an issue that's dividing people. Certainly in my context, working at a university, we're very well aware that people are going to be using AI to write their theses and essays, which is probably a normal thing to do now. But the question is, how do we deal with it? One, can it be classed as plagiarism? Not really, I don't think, because you're not copying someone as such, but it's not necessarily the student's own ideas. When we're talking about, let's say, the Chat GPT, where do you go with things like that ethically? What do you do? Do you change the form of assessment, or how do you deal with it?
Well, the most important thing that needs to happen is the ethical awareness. I mean, teachers, students, and every kind of stakeholder within the field of AI should start feeling the responsibility of dealing with AI. So, and then when this sense of responsibility starts running through a given society, whether it is an academic society or some sort of professional society, then gradually those other levels of the same community will also follow suit. So if teachers start observing the ethical measures of using AI, gradually the message is transferred to the students. Also developing guidelines, developing software developers can, as they have done it, they have done plagiarism, AI plagiarism checkers. So, I mean, they can actually advise teachers that whether a piece of writing has been done by a sort of GPT or any sort of AI, and what is the percentage. So probably with the cooperation of the ELT community and the software developers, these kinds of plagiarism detection software could be more efficient. And and also students should learn to be more responsible, as do teachers and other people.
I completely agree with you. And I think, ethics and plagiarism and academic integrity, I think, yes, this is definitely a question that's been in discussion for a long time. And I think people take it very seriously. But so a question would be, do you think it's wrong for students to use AI in order to write their essays and their work? Would you advise against it? Or how do we deal with it in this day and age?
Well, to some level, I mean, this is my personal opinion. To some level, it's not wrong. It's actually quite useful.
Yeah.
But if it reaches somewhere, if it reaches a stage that it kills the student's creativity, and then the student will only depend on what ChatGPT or any other piece of software will generate, then the person is not going to use the brain anymore. And we know that, I mean, we need to use this brain. Otherwise, I mean, we are going to forget things.
No, I agree with you. I agree. But everything's happening and changing so quickly that I do wonder, is our job obviously is to help the learners. And if they use AI ChatGPT to write a piece of work, they need to be able to edit it, because as you said at the beginning, it's not reliable. So they need to be able to read it and edit it and say, actually, factually, this is wrong, and to be able to make connections. But in terms of the language, I don't know. For me, this is the question that, we're all asking. Is it better to stop them from using it or help them to edit, or where do we go?
Well, I mean, these kinds of measures, drastic measures to tell students that you're not supposed to do that. It's exactly like the beginning of the use of mobile phones in classrooms.
Precisely.
Teachers were telling students, oh, you should switch off your phones and put them in the locker and then come to the classroom. And then it didn't go anywhere. At the end of the day, now it's the same teachers are recommending their students to bring their phones to class. So, but if we can somehow convince the students to use these kinds of artificial intelligence software to get points and ideas, tips, and then they just put the dots together and then create a whole picture. And then based on that, they create their own piece of work. That works much better because at the end of the day, yes, they get smarter, but also software, plagiarism detection software are also getting smarter. So I don't know where it leads at some point.
No, it's a conundrum, isn't it, at this point? If any teachers are watching at home thinking, okay, I fall into the category of maybe being at level 1 or level 2. I know AI is out there. I know ChatGPT, but I'm not sure how to harness the benefits of it for the students. Is there anything you could recommend? Any resources they could turn to, or how do they start on their CPD journey?
Well, first of all, I would certainly predict that there will be more AI-related presentations and professional development opportunities around the globe in different, either it is, for example, whether it is IATEFL or there are any local associates of IATEFL, I'm sure that they will have a lot of AI-related professional development events. So that's one thing. The second thing is it's like when you want to learn how to swim, one way is just to jump into the swimming pool and start
take the plunge.
Yes, take the plunge. So that's the second thing. And the other thing is that gradually, I'm sure that there are more and more materials to about teachers. For example, at this point, I am working on a sort of, I don't know if I call it a book or booklet for Iranian language teachers who speak Persian about ChatGPT prompts and how language teachers can use these ChatGPT prompts for different kinds of activities that a teacher would need, like, for example, writing a lesson plan or assessing students and so on. So what kind of prompts would they write so that they would get the best result out of the ChatGPT? So, and I'm sure there are people around the world who are doing similar things. So soon there will be an explosion of teaching and learning materials based on artificial intelligence. Some publishers have already started.
I think, yeah, the prompts are super important. And it's also, again, just making sure that you can have a look and check that it's accurate. I think what you were saying right at the beginning. For any teachers out there thinking, will AI replace me? What's your prediction?
Well, I would certainly say that it will not. But I have to say that there was an estimate. I was listening to a sort of TV program a few days ago. There would be about 40% of future jobs would somehow be disrupted or bothered by artificial intelligence. So it would be possible to pass through the impasse, the problem, and the trick would be professional development, and teachers need to equip themselves so that they can pass through this difficult situation, this critical moment. It was exactly about the same thing that was happening in the beginning of the millennium. I mean, about 2000, 2001, when that was the boom of computer-assisted language learning, and employers always ask for some sort of computer literacy and computer competency. And then it was very difficult for some teachers to upgrade themselves, but they had to do it. Otherwise, they would have lost their jobs. And a lot of people actually did upgrade themselves, and they are still in jobs. So I presume it's going to be the same. It is going to be difficult for people, especially language teaching community, but I think that they can pass through it. And we saw that we language teachers are actually able to do that, because we had a very good performance during the pandemic. I was comparing language teachers and other disciplines like computer engineers in the university, or civil engineers, medical professionals, and so on during the pandemic. And I have, it's my personal impression that language teachers actually bounced back quite quickly when pandemic hit, and they started to pull themselves together and move towards online teaching and learning. And even IATEFL had the conference, the pandemic conference. I mean, everything was online.
Yeah, we did it, and I think that's a lovely. In fact, that's a lovely way to end. We're a very versatile, flexible bunch of people, and we will get through everything. But CPD, that's really.
I was moderating a few sessions during that pandemic thing, and it was one of the I would say happy and difficult moments of my life, because it was my daughter was at the intensive care unit of the hospital during the IATEFL conference, and because I had already promised that I would moderate some sessions, so I actually borrowed at the next door one of the nurses' offices in the hospital, and I did my moderation sessions from the hospital.
Wow, that's dedication and commitment, and she's all right. That's what we all want to know. Perfect.
You saw the
She's
photos.
Gorgeous. Yeah, she's absolutely gorgeous. And on that note, talking about your lovely daughter, I think that's all we have time for this interview. Mohammed, it was lovely to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
and I'm here with Sean Sweeney. Now, you're a lecturer, examiner, consultant. You're behind Dublin TEFL. You are a scholarship winner, overall rock star. He's just come out of his talk. People were queuing up in the hallway to get in. Like, please tell us something about yourself.
They must have been confused. That's all I can say. Yeah, no, I just finished the talk, so I'm happy with it. And yeah, you're right. I do a lot of different things, wear a lot of different hats, as we like to say. And it's great to be here at IATEFL. It's been a few years for me. I haven't been since I don't know when. I was nearly going to be here for Belfast.
That's been a while.
Yeah, but I didn't even make it because we all got sick as a family, so it's a bit of a shame. So it's just fantastic to be here, and yeah, see some great talks, catch up with people.
We're happy to have you here.
Yeah.
And you said you wear many hats. Can I ask, what's your favorite hat?
I like a flat cap in general. Where we are as well, yeah, flat caps are good. I have one that's very good for the rain. As I say, we're in Ireland. It rains a lot, and a hat is often better than an umbrella. So I'll go for that. But seriously though, I don't know. I like the variety, to be honest. So we do teacher training, and I enjoy that. I do bits of examining, materials writing. We work with schools, different size schools, and I guess, well, it's one of the themes from the talk today is about personalization. It's the same with the work we do. It's like very different contexts. The students are very different. The teachers and what they need can be quite different as well, and that makes it interesting. So yeah, I guess that's the answer to that.
So let's talk about your session.
Okay.
Because people were queuing up.
Right.
It was good. It's personalized.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a bit more?
Sure. Okay. So it was about assessment, but I guess it's about the idea that it's fairly well accepted that if we have teaching materials, they should be relevant, engaging,
definitely
personalized where possible. If you're making your own materials, you can really tailor it to the students, to their needs, their interests, their communicative goals. Yeah, everything really. That's pretty easy to do, and you can use generative AI to help you do that. My talk was about assessment, so it was about, can you take that idea and extend it to assessment? And you want to know the answer?
Yeah.
Yes, you can. So there we go. Well, with some caveats, of course. So it was in my context. So I showed a case study of one group that I taught, because I do some teaching as well. And this was like, it was an online group of students from Panama, based in Panama. They had 8 weeks online preparing to then go and stay in Edinburgh for 6 months. So it was a government scheme, and they won. They got onto this. They got this bursary, and I was involved in the prep stage, so the online synchronous stage. A lot of hours of teaching. It's like 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. They're elementary, they're beginners as well. And my starting point, I suppose, was I had a course book, but I didn't have to use it. And in the end, I didn't use it very much at all. I was reassured to have it because of the number of hours.
Yeah.
But basically, the course was very much output driven and reactive. So the learners were doing things like making videos, recording stuff, watching each other's, asking questions. There was a lot of translation work. They all speak Spanish. And they found that very useful. So they would translate from Spanish into English, and sometimes back again, and we'd do tasks like that. So basically, when it comes to assessment, it's like, well, I can't just use the end of course, the end of unit progress test. Is not going to work because it's not going to match anything we've been doing in terms of the language. Didn't always match. A lot of it did, to be fair, because elementary, there's a certain, it was aligned a lot with, say, CFR can-do statements, which then link, of course, to the sorts of language you need in order to achieve those. So some of the language was quite similar, but certainly the topics were not there. The activities that they were doing didn't really match the kinds of activity. They weren't doing a lot of, say, grammar gap fills or anything like that. They weren't doing a lot of that. So the progress test didn't match, or to put it in other words, didn't have constructive alignment. That was something that we were trying to have a strong thread of, I suppose. Yeah. So that was it, really. So I presented that. I said, this is how I did it. Here's some things I tried. Some of them worked. Some of them didn't work at all. And there were certain things where I got better. I wouldn't call myself an expert by any means, but I got better at using it as a tool.
So what is one of the things that work? Because I think personalizing our assessment is something that we all want to do in English language teaching. And you used AI to do that.
Yeah.
So how do you do that?
It's interesting because you say it's something we all want to do, is to personalize assessment, but I suppose it kind of depends, I think, because you'll have standardized assessments where what you want to do is not really personalized. You want it to be quite standardized, a standardized experience for everyone.
Often it has to be.
Exactly. And that's large scale proficiency testing and so on. So the context I was talking about was more assessment for learning, formative and summative, but very much, the teacher, probably, in this case it was me, is in control of making those assessments, and you can make it really personalized. I think there's potential for that to cross over somewhat into large-scale testing. There are certain things that, say for key markets, I suppose they would be called, from a large-scale point of view, you could tailor the content.
Yeah.
And perhaps use of generative AI is going to help you in doing that, certainly in terms of writing texts, reading text for reading assessment. Generative AI is reasonably good at generating text. It then needs some sort of human intervention, mediation, editing, in order to make sure that it's okay, that it's representative, that it's not too trite in its conclusions that it writes, and so on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So if you keep aware of the risks of AI, you can use them to make your assessments.
Absolutely.
Now, you shared your best practices. You said you also shared some of your worst practices, and we love a good blooper. So,
the best
could
way.
You share one thing that we should not do at home?
It wasn't so much that, I guess it would be, I'd say, lessons learned. I at first was not good at being very specific or knowing exactly what to say. So, concrete example: if I'm trying to get ChatGPT to write a text, I started off saying, write a text at A2 level about blah, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it generates the text. The first thing that comes out is like, oh, well, that's too short. Well, I haven't told it how long.
Yeah.
And I then went, okay, now double the length. And it can't double. So I certainly couldn't when I was doing it. So mathematically, that didn't work. You literally have to say, write 150 words.
Yeah.
Okay. The leveling thing, it's not very good at. And in fact, I'd say it's pretty much absent. I've tried to use various word formulations to get it to write a text at low levels. And if you're working with lower levels, A1, A2, B1, that's where you have to have much more editing. And probably you need a second tool, not ChatGPT, maybe another AI tool.
Yeah.
But something that looks at the level of the text, checks for whether it's appropriate, maybe highlights difficult words for you that you can then change.
Yeah.
This is fairly standard practice in, say, large scale testing, test writing, and in materials writing. It's these sorts of tools materials writers would use a lot.
Yeah.
I guess the challenge at teacher level is finding something that is good and free, or at least reasonably priced.
That, I think for most teachers, free
is
easy
good.
access. We don't have time. We don't have money.
Yeah.
We have AI. And I mean, we do have AI because I think it's one of the recurring themes of this conference and currently also in English language teaching. How do you feel about AI?
In general?
Yeah.
I'm just going to steal what other people said, and I think it was Vicky this morning who was saying it's a tool, and it requires human interaction, oversight, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's a tool that's going to revolutionize things. It already is.
Definitely.
Something to be used wisely. Share. I avoid the word best practice because I think it sounds quite prescriptive, but good practice. Like, what are we doing? What has worked? What hasn't worked? And I try to do a bit of that today from my point of view, what's worked for me and what hasn't worked for me. And if you see other people doing that, teachers sharing that at conferences like this or online or what have you, we can reach tentative steps towards recommendations. Always be specific, for example. Always check for bias.
Yeah.
Check for representation. It tends towards average, so it gives you something that is largely derivative, and that's something to guard against as well. So those are some of the things I came up against.
So how was the response of your session? Because It was literally just now.
It was, yeah. I think it was okay. I kind of rushed off here to do the interview. So yeah, I think it was okay. From my point of view, I'm happy with how it went. We had a good amount of time. It would have been nice to have more time to discuss, but that's what, the milling around the exhibition centre and, talking about things over a coffee and what have you, that's what that's for. So I think certainly there's interest in anything AI, and how and if you ever have anything where it's like, this is something that could save you time, but you have to be a bit careful about it.
Yeah.
It's going to generate interest, and it's here to stay, isn't it? That's the other thing. It's like, you can't ignore it. It's
no.
there sooner or later. It'll probably become part of your own practice to a greater or lesser degree. And even if it's not for you, it's the sort of thing to kind of play around with, I suppose.
We need to know it's there. Like,
yeah.
It's all around. We need to know how to use it and also how our students might use it.
That's the other side of it. Yeah.
Yes, because I think, speaking of assessments, that is what most teachers worry about.
Exactly.
It's like, what if my students cheat? What if my students have AI write their texts?
Yeah.
Do you share that? Do you understand that concern?
I do understand that concern. Yeah. I think what the outcome of that is really, you have to rethink what assessments you're giving and what the process of that assessment, as well as the product. So you've got to think, okay, are we just going to let people use generative AI in producing their answers? That's one point of view. Okay.
Yeah.
The other point of view is control for it and clamp down on it, I suppose. These arguments come up a lot of the time in assessment, not just in ELT, but in mainstream ed as well, about, do you have an open book test? Do you have a closed book test? Can you use dictionaries? Can you not?
Yeah.
It's another part of that. And I suppose conversations that are happening now are about, should this be just included as a tool that learners, students, test takers can use, and figure out the best way to do that in terms of how you produce your testing items and how you evaluate what the students are producing.
Yeah. And like you said, it's here to stay. So we need to talk, share stories, and find a way to use it or deal with it. Or now, preparing for my interview, I have to admit, I Googled you.
Okay.
It's stalker, I know, but I Googled you, and I found a lot on assessments.
Right.
I also found a lot on authentic listening.
Yeah.
What is authentic listening?
Oh, that's a good question. This could be a conference title, talk title, perhaps. What is authenticity is a good question as well, isn't it? And that's something people do debate about. It's like, and authentic materials, we kind of have an idea of like what authentic materials are. When it comes down to it, for me, I think it's material or content that's not produced specifically for language learners. So it's produced by proficient users of English for another purpose, to entertain, to inform, to, what have you. So we're talking about YouTube clips, we're talking about TikTok, we're talking about, and in terms of listening, we're talking about audio and video.
Yeah.
So this is interesting when it comes to things like artificial intelligence, because at the moment, as far as I have found out, a lot of what's produced by artificial intelligence is based on written language, is not so much based on spoken language. And one of the big difficulties with listening to authentic or unscripted speech, or watching an unscripted video, is the fact that the language is quite different from written language. We speak in utterances rather than sentences. There's lots of filled pauses. There's lots of redundancy. All of those spoken discourse features. Delivery is the main one. It's how fast is it? It gets very fast. It then slows down. All of those things pose a challenge to learners, and that's something I'm very much interested in terms of how to help, essentially.
Yeah.
How do we develop learners' listening skills over and above giving or advocating for just more practice, just keep practicing. That's the hope to cope kind of philosophy that predominates, I think, and is fairly easy to write materials for. And that's another reason perhaps for its predominance. I'm more interested in the listening processes, how we can help learners develop those processes in the classroom, and maybe, yes, how we can assess what's happening there as well.
Do we need more materials? Like, is it easy to find authentic listening materials?
I think, it depends on who you're trying to find it for. If it was teaching materials, I think that the starting point is find something they want to watch or are interested in. So, I don't know, I've got a bunch of teenagers in Vietnam there. Outside of class, I have to think, like, what are you guys watching, or what do you want to watch? Or what might fit in? And it's often short videos, short content, things on TikTok, funny YouTube channels that they're into. So you can do a kind of needs analysis in terms of the interests that they have to find that out, and then just go and find it and use that. Play a bit of it and say, how much did you understand? Do you want to understand more? Short clips are usually very good for this, so they might have something that's, say, 30 minutes long. You don't want that. You want to be able to zoom in on 1 minute of audio or video and work with that.
But this is, like you said, this is where AI comes in handy, because it can get us the perfect materials, and it saves us time having to find materials. And at the same time, we do want authenticity, and you do want something that they want to watch and see.
I haven't myself used AI in order to find authentic materials. That's not something I've done. And I haven't investigated so much how far some of these audio apps where you can give a script and it will read it out, how useful those are and how close to unscripted speech they are. There's probably potential there, but the same problems that come up with writing scripts for listening, the same problems that we already have when you give a script to an actor who then goes into a studio and reads things in an unnatural way, are going to be probably the same problems that we have if we give that script to an AI and get them to read it. But the technology does move fast, so it's worth keeping an eye on, I suppose.
Well, like you said, potential, keeping an eye out. It's just, we'll have to watch and see what happens in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of the future, I have absolutely no idea what's next, but stay tuned.
Everybody, I'm delighted to be joined in the studio with Kuheli. Hello.
Hi, I'm Kuheli from India. Hi, everyone.
It's very nice to meet you. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you.
How is your IATEFL experience so far?
IATEFL has always been a place that I can relate to. The ambience is great, as well as I'm meeting so many friends from over there and having new ideas as well. Thinking of a way forward, collaborating with people from different countries. And there are areas that I didn't know about. People are talking about that from the PCE. I really am enjoying it.
Oh, this is fantastic. So yesterday you went to a pre-conference event.
Yes.
Which one did you go to?
Teacher Education and Training,
Mm.
TTED.
And this is your area anyway of interest, isn't it,
Yeah,
in general?
right now I'm interested in that area.
Lovely. And do you have a takeaway from yesterday? Was there something that you thought, oh, this is interesting and new?
Definitely. I'd say I was really happy to listen to Jim, then Gary and Bahar. And I really I'm thinking of research ideas based on what Gary said. In fact, he inspired me to think about the research that I'll be talking about tomorrow. So the sessions from teacher training and education were all really great. I had a very lively interaction with Bahar this morning, speaking about telling her how she motivated me and how I can relate to what she was saying about expert teachers. So it's lovely so far.
Oh, and it's really kind of you to give her that feedback as well, that she's motivated you. So Kuheli, tell us a little bit about your relationship with IATEFL and the reason that you started coming back in 2008, I think?
2008. The first IATEFL I attended was in 2009. And I have come several times since then. So, and I'm a member of IATEFL. And this year, IATEFL is kind enough to support me with the scholarship that makes it even greater an experience for me. And I feel really honored that I have been chosen as a scholarship winner. And I think this is going to motivate people like me from contexts like India, where there is not much opportunities for CPD, for teachers or teacher educators. So this kind of scholarships, being given to people like me, that would definitely go a long way to motivate other teachers or teacher educators from my context to apply for this kind of scholarship. So that's great.
And this is very interesting. So you're a Hornby Scholar winner.
Yes.
This is brilliant. So if anyone's watching at home, IATEFL does offer a range of different scholarships that you can win. We have a live example of a winner with us. And Kuheli, how did you find it? How did you get it? Is it difficult to get? Could you tell us something about that?
I think it's, I don't know about how difficult it was for the scholarship selection committee to select me. But for me, I was very passionate about what I wrote in the paper. So, and since I have been trying to get a scholarship for quite a number of years, I didn't get any scholarship from IATEFL directly. I got funding from other organizations, not IATEFL. And since I have tried a number of times, so I know where to focus on. So this time it was not that difficult, but I was not really expecting. So I was really elated. And the paper that I needed to submit with my application for the scholarship that I received is Ray Chung Scholarship, and for that I needed to submit a speaker proposal. That is compulsory. So if anyone is trying to get this scholarship, they have to think of a study, a research that they can talk about, and then submit their research proposal. And for specific guidelines how to make such proposals, they can go to IATEFL website. There are guidelines, and that also helped me. Writing the proposal, writing the SOP. That is really important. That what is your specific purpose for applying for this kind of scholarship? How would you help your community? So it's not basically being given to an individual for whatever she has done, for whatever she has done for the community. That's my belief. So I just tried that way.
Which is perfect, and that's a lovely way of doing it. I mean, certainly we get sent to the conferences and we learn things, we meet people, and then we go back to where we come from and disseminate the information, share it with others.
Right.
Okay, so if there's anyone thinking, oh, I couldn't do that, no, you absolutely can. if you're doing any form of research as a teacher, and it doesn't have to be super academic, does it?
Exactly. Just and failure. You learn from the failure. I didn't get it the first time I applied for, but I got it finally.
Absolutely.
So
there we go. This success
keep on
story.
trying,
Yeah.
I would say.
So give it a go. If you're interested in doing it, give it a go. It's definitely worth it. So I'm guessing that your research proposal that you wrote about for the scholarship is what you're giving your talk on tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay. So can you tell us the title of your talk?
It is about a group of people that I am one of them. It's about the non-permanent teacher educators and their identity experience, how they experience their identity.
Okay.
Where do they find themselves in the teacher education scenario as in general.
And so you said that you're one of these people. What's your context?
My context, I started teaching in the year 1992. So you can well imagine it's more than 30 years, more than 3 decades. And I started as a teacher trainer, I think it was in 2005. So that is also quite a long way back. But when I started training teachers, I was following others from my context. I come from a context where the inset trainings are given by experienced teachers. So I was one of them. And when I got a scholarship from American Embassy, it was a teacher exchange program under Fulbright. So I went to Minnesota, and there I had the first experience of what is teacher education really is, and the teacher training pedagogy I came to know about. I didn't know anything about it. And then my next learning came from a project that I got involved with in my context. It was a British Council project, and I happened to be one of the master trainers that British Council developed. And there too I found the importance of reflective activities in my training sessions. So that made me think about what else I can do to develop myself. And so then I came across this advertisement from Hornby Educational Trust UK, and I just applied for it without realizing how important it was and how it will change my life entirely. And when I received the scholarship, that really changed my entire life. I came in touch with international scholars from different contexts, which are sometimes similar, some were not similar, but there were learning points from everyone. And I must say one thing that my experience in University of Leeds, that changed me as a person, because it taught me how to question anything.
Okay, critical thinking.
My teachers would say, you are quite an experienced teacher. Why are you keeping silent? You know how to teach ESL in the classroom. So do you think whatever I'm saying from theory, will it be feasible? Will it be practicable in your classroom? So that made me come out with my questions. That was a really great experience, and so that is why I am here. So as I went back from England after my dissertation here, so my authorities, educational authorities, these days they are more using me as teacher educators. So most of my time I'm involved in different type of teacher training. So maybe it is the pedagogical leadership that I'm training people with, or it may be the pedagogy of teaching English in secondary or primary classroom.
Okay, so you have
Where I am.
all of these roles, and you're
Yes.
working in a situation which is not necessarily a permanent one.
Yes.
And you're interested in identity, teacher identity.
Yes.
For anyone who's not too sure what you mean by teacher identity, could you give us a definition of how you understand it?
Identity, I would say, as a teacher, I'm a professional. As a teacher trainer, also, I'm a professional. So every profession has its own characteristics. So do I possess those characteristics? So if I feel confident about myself as a teacher, then why? Why? What are the characteristics that I have? What is the knowledge base that I should have in order to feel confident about teaching? In the same way, if I feel that I'm a teacher trainer and I want to be confident, I should know the LT pedagogy as well as the teacher educators pedagogy, which would tell me how to go about how to train teachers. There is a pedagogy and I should know that. And my learning uh, in these years, I mean, it is not only what I learned from my university classroom, but it was a learning on the go, I would say. These days, I'm not only doing training as such, but I'm also involved in teacher development. I'm leading teacher associations, working with them, and I have developed a community of practice along with 4 or 5 of my colleagues, and it is really doing wonderful work in my context. And I'm trying to give a voice to those who have remained unheard so far. So the recent decentering initiative, I'm really finding it interesting for those teachers. So in my COP, I have teachers who are teaching in the primary level. So in my context, teacher teaching at the primary level of school, they don't come with a master degree in English, so they don't know the content of English as well. So what sort of support they would need, and they have been coping with so far, how they have been coping, that I wanted to learn, I wanted to listen to. So in the COP that we have developed, we encourage the teachers to come out with their own ideas, how they are coping and what they feel they need to cope in a better way. What would they need? So it is not that I'm telling them that this is what you need. Rather, they're coming with their ideas and their need. So
Yeah, but that's really important. So you're a facilitator in that context rather than a leader as such, standing at the front.
exactly.
So tell me more in terms of the non-permanent teacher educator and self-identity. How did you conduct your research? I know that you said you had 6 teacher educators and it was ethnographic. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. When I selected these teacher educators, I have worked with these teacher educators on another research project. It was a researcher from UK who came to our classroom, and 8 teachers he selected through some definite process, questionnaire, etc. And then we worked in the same project with that researcher. And as I came in touch with these teacher educators, I found that they are all very passionate about what they are doing. So I selected these 6, and they are from different contexts. India being a very large country, so context to context differs. So what is going on in the eastern part of India may be not exactly how it is in the southern part of India or in the western part. So I wanted to explore how the non-permanent teacher educators from different contexts are feeling about their work, their identity, and so on. So thus I selected the group of people that I worked with.
This is great. And then you interviewed them, or?
Yes, I interviewed them. It was a kind of unstructured interview, or you
Okay.
can say semi-structured,
Yep.
because I needed to give certain pointers what they would be talking about, and that generated the narratives from them. So it was a narrative inquiry, you can say, and then the narrative was analyzed and codified, transcribed, codified, and then analyzed, and then I came to the interpretation that I wanted.
Oh, lovely.
I
And
felt like.
and tomorrow you're going to present the results.
So,
But that tomorrow you'll be presenting your
yeah,
findings.
please come to my session if you find time. I'll be really glad, and I hope it gives something new for people to think about. In fact, I have invited Gary to come to my session.
And I'm sure he will.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so,
absolutely.
because I said that you motivated me to think about this research. Last year in Harrogate, I attended his talk in Research Seek, and that encouraged me to think in this way.
But I think this is wonderful. This is what we need. We need research being done by teachers, because teachers are the people in the trenches, in the classroom, that can actually see what's happening and affect change. So hats off, 100% for
Thank you.
doing
That
this.
that makes me think of another aspect of my work. I do teacher mentoring
Mhm.
for the last 5 years till 2018. Then I got a research mentoring scholarship from British Council, and I mentored 7 teachers then. And from then I have been continuing with that, and I have been in touch with different academicians who are involved in teacher research, and I'm trying to publish with them as well, writing about my experience, about my career trajectory, and so on. So, and yesterday when I was talking with people in the teacher education SIC, I find some of them not finding it that energizing anymore to be the teacher educator. It's same pattern of work. So I advise that to get involved in teacher research, mentor teacher research, because that made me forget about my burnout. As a teacher, I was thinking, is this the end? Where do I go from here? And teacher research mentoring gave me that way forward.
This is brilliant, and there are so many different avenues that we can go down in our
Yes.
profession. So yeah, if you're
Yes.
feeling a bit tired and you need a change,
Exactly.
this could be the way forward to help you out. Oh, Kuheli, it's been really lovely speaking to you. I wish you the best of luck tomorrow, and
Thank you so much.
keep going with your research. It's invaluable. It really is.
Thank you so much. Please pray that it goes well and smoothly.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And I'm here with, I'm going to try and pronounce it right this time because I haven't been doing that right. Sarn. No,
That's right.
Sarn.
It is Sarn.
Sarn. Okay,
Sarn, yes.
Sarn. And you are doing a talk on one of my favorite topics in the world in ELT. Could you first introduce yourself before we give the viewers any spoilers?
Yeah, so I'm Sarn Rich, and I work at Canterbury Christchurch University. I've been there for about 10, 11 years. Before that, I taught at different places around the world. Yeah, but I'm afraid you've missed my session. It was this morning.
Because what's the session that we and everybody watching from home we have missed?
Well, it was about creating activities for escape rooms. So there are lots of things you can do with escape rooms in English language teaching, but it's mainly fun, I think. So I'm interested in connections with embodied cognition and cognitive linguistics and task-based learning and all that kind of academic-y stuff, but it's fun.
It's fun, and we can make the academic-y stuff fun with
Definitely.
escape rooms.
Absolutely, yes. And if you want to underpin it with some academic-y kind of researchy grounding, then you can. And that's what I do professionally at work at the university. But when I'm here, I like to enjoy myself.
So you teach at the university?
Yes.
Do you teach and use a lot of escape rooms in your teaching?
Not as much as I'd like to, because there are constraints and restrictions and things that we have to do. But I do like to use it when I can.
Yes.
Yeah, the odd little activity, it keeps them on their toes. I lock them in a room and I give them some, no, I don't really, but I give them some puzzles to do, and that motivates and gives people something different to do occasionally, and they enjoy working together, collaborating, practicing their English, all these things.
Definitely, and those are the fun class where you see they're enjoying themselves. Yes. And your session was about making puzzles.
Yes.
So explain to me and everybody else who missed your session and will regret that for life. How do I make a puzzle for an escape room?
Oh, well, the great thing about English language teachers is that we tend to have lots of imagination. And so we see things lying around and we think, oh, how can I use that for teaching? And sometimes it can be a nuisance, like you hear a great piece of music on the radio and you think, oh, I like that song. How can I use that in my teaching? And it can get in the way sometimes. But it's also useful professionally because everything is a resource. And that really applies with escape rooms, because you can use all sorts of things. Like some of the people were using jigsaw puzzles. You can put the puzzle together and write a secret message on it and then break up the pieces, and people have to put the puzzle together to work out what the message is, for example.
Oh, love that. And that is something very easy. Like we can all just pick up a puzzle and like reuse it, write something on the back and use that in an escape room.
Exactly. Yeah,
Any other like simple things that even people like me can do?
Plastic cups, you know, the transparent ones that slot into each other.
Will be closing shortly. The exhibition will be closing
Sorry,
shortly.
we have announcements.
Yeah. So
I ask you not to forget your delegate badge in the morning. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is one of those strange situations where every time you think the announcement stops, it just continues.
Yeah. It's actually part of the puzzle. But anyway, plastic cups, transparent cups. If you slot them into each other, and you've written parts of a message on each individual cup just looks like it's got little marks on it. But when you slot them into each other and turn them around within each other, it says a message.
Oh, that is so clever, because plastic cups we can all get.
Again,
but when you're making an
nothing.
escape room, like actually getting a cryptex or any like really proper professional stuff is usually horribly expensive.
Yeah, you don't need any of those lasers or anything like that. Or even UV pens, UV torches, you know, with invisible writing. They don't really cost very much. You can get them for £1 or something like that, or cheaper if you get lots of them. No need for it to be expensive or to take ages and ages. You can produce these things.
Keep it simple.
Easily. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, like, these are the puzzles that we'll make for the escape rooms. But how do I set up an escape room? Especially because I'm a lecturer as well, so my topics tend to be academic-y as well. How do I set up an escape room?
Yeah, it depends on the theme and the situation. I think it's nice just to have a couple of puzzles every now and then, so you go from one puzzle to the next puzzle and then you get the payoff at the end. I don't think it's necessary to have like 10 puzzles and spend the whole morning on an escape room. You can just do little activities every now and then just to break things up a bit.
I love that. Just keep it simple, because I do think we tend to aim high, and that's good. But then it's quite daunting to. That's also why I guess we don't always do as many escape rooms as we want. It's because it's so much work. But just keep it simple, keep it small.
Yeah.
1 or 2 small puzzles.
Absolutely.
Great way to start a class.
Yes, yes.
So how was the response this morning?
They had fun, and again, teachers having imagination and doing their own things. People were doing all sorts of things I hadn't thought of. Interpreting, because I gave materials and ideas to everybody.
Yeah.
And everyone interpreted it in their own way. And yeah, it's great. I learned so much. It's wonderful. Yeah,
Well, that is
being
the
here
beauty
great.
of teaching, right? I mean,
Yeah, and working with colleagues, being somewhere like this, getting ideas, sharing ideas. Yeah.
So what's been the best thing aside from your workshop? Obviously, that was the best thing, and we missed it.
Yeah.
But what's the best thing about this year's IATEFL, in your opinion, other than
It's only
your
the
workshop?
first day, but just went to a really interesting talk about a project in Serbia. I've forgotten its name, sorry. It was English for English and art. So getting students who are doing fine art to use their artworks to talk about them in English, and sorry, and displaying their works in a virtual gallery with pop-up text which they were composing to describe their work. These kinds of ideas, which I wouldn't have come across otherwise, that's what I come for. It's to go to presentations on topics which I wouldn't have thought about or I wouldn't have looked up in journals. Get surprising ideas. It all feeds the imagination.
Yeah, which I can imagine people attending your workshop had as well.
I hope so.
So you like games in the classroom, escape rooms, treasure hunts.
Yeah.
You do them privately as well. Are you a game enthusiast?
As much as I can. Yes. But my children are a bit sick of it now, so they don't let me. But yes, I like it. Yes. But I think also it's good for in teaching because it's a different kind of way of tackling things. Because normally, when we give our students tasks to perform or activities, the students know what they're supposed to do. Or if they don't, then that's a problem. Whereas with an escape room style activity, you put loads of clues around and you say what you want them to end up achieving, but you don't tell them how to do it, which is a completely different way of approaching teaching, I think, from how we normally teach. Normally, we want the students to know what they're doing.
I love that. Normally, we focus very much on motivation, getting them talking, which are all valid reasons why we do escape rooms. But to actually, get them a bit flustered and I don't know what to do. It's like, as you say, like usually education is very programmed, fixed. We know what to expect.
Yeah.
And by surprising them, you actually make them think outside of the box.
Exactly. Yeah, I call it creative floundering. And there's not enough creative floundering, I think, in the classroom. There's plenty in life. And sometimes it's a bit exhausting. But that's why it's important, I think, in the classroom as well, to get students to develop the idea that they can work their way through these difficulties. When they're presented with a load of things and they don't know what they're supposed to do, then they can actually try things out and work their way through it.
Which hopefully they'll love, especially if they do. It's like the success experience.
Yeah. So it's a safe space in which they can creatively flounder.
I love that word. It's like my word of the day. It's like word of this live stream is creative floundering. I think, as you said, we all should do that more often. Last question. How, as a tip for everyone, like how can we get our students to creative flounder in our very next class that we're teaching?
Well, actually, I must admit that quite often my students are floundering when I don't mean them to.
Yeah, they do.
So I think when that happens, just pretend it's part of the plan. And if there's somebody observing, it always happens when somebody's observing, then pretend afterwards that that was part of the plan and you wanted the students to sort of work things out for themselves a bit, develop their independence.
So unplanned creative floundering,
Definitely,
just go
yeah.
with it, like
Yeah.
enjoy it, go with it, pretend it was all like intentional. When we do want to do intentional creative floundering, I still sometimes have hope for my classes. Like, how can I get them next week, Monday morning? How can I get my students to creatively flounder in the classroom?
Yeah, yeah. So you have to set up some sort of task with clues, and well, like that example with the jigsaw puzzle. So write your message on the jigsaw puzzle, break up the pieces, put it on the desk, and then say to them, right, I want you to find something or other.
Just do it.
That's your clue, and then they have to look at the puzzle and work out for themselves what to do with it. They put the pieces together. Then there's a message saying where the thing is
That I've done hidden, or and then okay, sounds good. You know what? You have inspired me, and I will do that. So if my students are watching, it's creative floundering next week in class. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Hello, welcome back, everybody. I can't believe this. This is the last interview of the afternoon. Where has the time gone?
Oh, tell me about it.
The exhibition will be closing shortly.
It's always the way, isn't it?
The exhibition will be closing.
And we're being chased out now as
We
well,
are.
aren't we? But they have saved the best for last, I think.
Well,
Hello.
I like to think so. Hi.
Hi. Peter Fulligo, you are becoming one of our regulars. Welcome back.
Thank you so much. I'm kind of amazed to be asked back.
Oh, no, it's wonderful to have you here. For anyone who didn't see last year, Peter was with us and you were discussing the representation of LGBTQ. I can't even say it. Can you help me?
LGBTQIA plus.
Yes.
Yes.
In ELT materials.
Yes.
So the burning question that we have is, what's changed since last year?
Now, that is an excellent question.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking me that. I would probably have to say not a lot has changed.
Okay.
But I think the people within the LGBTQIA plus community within ELT know this. But that doesn't mean that there's nothing going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's still a lot of research going on. There's still a lot of books being produced as a result of the research. It's like, for example, this morning I saw a wonderful talk by Lucas Pakula, and one of his edited books is just incredible and needs to be read by everyone, I think. But there is so much happening. But I think because, of course, a lot of it is materials, it's not going to actually, strangely enough, materialize for a couple of years. So we may well be putting things in place, like building structures and building kind of the basis for better inclusion, not just LGBTQIA+, but all marginalized communities, people from the global majority, disabled people. I could go on. And I think it is going to take a bit of time for it to filter through. But I think small steps are being made, but maybe not so noticeable.
That makes sense, though, and it is really positive that you say that small steps are being made. And publishing, as I'm sure everyone is aware, yeah, it does. It takes a long time from kind of inception to publication. It could be up to about 5 years, couldn't it? So
it could be, yes. So the things we're putting into place now, we may not see until 2029, 2030.
But it's coming.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope the publishers are listening.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think everybody is. And I think we were having a chat just before coming back into the studio, and you were saying that you loved IATEFL for the fact that people are willing to listen. Yes. And they want to allow everybody to kind of have a voice and to say, well, think about things from this perspective.
Absolutely. I think with inclusion and sort of listening to different voices, there's always so much more that can be done. But I do applaud kind of IATEFL for including some of the marginalized communities. As I say, a lot more can be done, but the people that are here and that are speaking sort of their authenticity, I heard about in the PCE, in the Young Learners SIG, which I unfortunately didn't go to. I must remember to do that in the future. But I heard that it was people being themselves, and this created a lot of emotion. And I've just been to a talk by Verinder Unlu, and that was extremely powerful, about representation, listening to different voices, not just talking about the different communities, but I hate to use the word including them, but making them part of the conversation is really what I'm trying to say. Okay.
Verinda's actually going to be joining us later this week, so
fabulous.
We can ask more and find out more about what Verinda was saying. But you're also going to be saying something tomorrow, aren't you? You've got your talk. Can you tell us, without giving the game away, can you tell us something?
I can. Well, first of all, I can tell you it's at 12 past 5.
12 past 5. It's
not quite right. It's 5 past 12. It's going to be in Skyline, which I haven't been to yet. I heard it's quite large.
You didn't go to the opening reception yesterday in Skyline?
I didn't.
And I'm sure
Apologies.
It is large. Yes, carry on.
Is it? That's where I'm going to be.
Yeah.
And the talk is called Requeering Discussions, Do's and Don'ts in ELT.
Okay.
So it's, without giving too much away, it's about speaking tasks, not just discussions, but some examples of what not to do, and maybe some examples of what could be done. So I'm not saying that this is the only way to do it, but just giving some suggestions and ideas.
Okay. And where was the talk, or how was the talk born? Where did you get the idea to say, this year I want to speak about this?
Another excellent question. Well, since last year, I've been working on quite a few different things.
Right.
Both kind of in my freelance life, mainly connected with LGBTQIA plus inclusion. And I started doing a couple of workshops that was looking at speaking tasks and reading tasks. And the feedback that I got was quite good. And so I thought, well, I'd like to speak at IATEFL again, because last year was incredible. So I thought, why not try and incorporate something that I've kind of got more of an idea about? And so the idea of this discussion workshop came along, but also because it's really frustrating seeing some of the material that's out there, and that I think, quite frankly, is offensive. So we'll be touching on that as well tomorrow.
Okay. So that's definitely one to watch. Have you been working on anything yourself?
Why, yes. Yes, I have. I think I could probably... It's okay. I'm just going to show there. I don't know if people can see it, but it's called Existence. And I chose that. I'm going to leave it there. Okay, like that. That's better.
Mm-hmm.
I called it existence because that's what people do. We exist. Last year, the title of my talk was "I am not a taboo," and this kind of comes from "I'm not a taboo," and so it's 8 LGBTQIA+ inclusive ELT resources ready to go for the teacher to use in a safe environment. Obviously, there are some countries, communities where maybe this would not be welcomed. That's okay. But in countries where we are accepted, where we exist, I think this, as far as I know, it's possibly the only LGBTQIA+ focused resource book. And I'm really excited to have it here. And you can come and find it, actually, and me, on stand 66, which is also called booth 66, the independent publishers and authors stand, where you can find this and many other people talking about inclusion and diversity and their courses as well. I recommend go and have a look.
But this is lovely. So if anyone was feeling frustrated or curious about different types of resources, or they're frustrated with what they're using, this could be a takeaway, off you go, teach it resource that you've created.
That's it, because I didn't want it to be just solely focused on LGBTQIA+, which I know the cover is rather focused on that, but within it, I wanted to create representation of different marginalized communities. So disability is in there, neurodiversity is in there, different body shapes, which is something that is part of something I want to improve as well, of representation in any ELT materials. Ethnicity is there. So as much as I can without it being too overpowering, but in a natural way, to show actually how simple it can be to be more inclusive and representative in materials. If I can do it, then hello, publishers, is my little message.
Okay. Well, it could provide a lovely model, certainly, that people can then say, this is how it could be done.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, all the best with that. I really hope that goes well. And after your talk, when you've had the chance to relax and calm down, what are you looking forward to seeing for the rest of the conference?
Actually, there is a panel discussion. I think it's called People Like Us.
Okay.
And it's as far as I know, it's all about inclusion and the LGBTQIA+ community. So I'm really looking forward to that. And oh my goodness, there are so many, unfortunately. Yes. I mean, if only I could go and see Harry Waters, but unfortunately we're speaking at the same time. But that's okay. I'll get a hug from him anytime, so that's okay.
So lots to look forward to, in fact, hugs and other talks of interest. Oh, that's brilliant. Well, Peter, thank you so much for chatting to us this afternoon. It's been a joy as always.
Thank you very much.
And I cannot believe this, but this is actually now the end of the show. But before we go, I wanted to remind you that you can find the plenary on the IATEFL page. You'll find the link. It'll be there for 8 p.m. And also, don't forget to come and join us tomorrow, because we're jam-packed, aren't we, my love? We've got so much happening. You'll tune in as well, won't you?
Try and stop me.
Lovely. Okay, so I think that's it. So we wish you a really lovely evening, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.